Hi everyone, this is Hiba from My Little Journal, and today I'm excited to be sharing with you my week in the life journal, and I'm going to work on the first day of week in the life. So I kind of know what I want to use for week in the life. I didn't do a lot of preparing. I basically trimmed down my journal, added a few things, printed out a few printables, and I call that done basically. So I wanted to share with you what I have in my little container. These are the things that I printed out that I know I'm going to be using throughout the journal. And the rest is just going to come out of my stash. I'm just going to go through my stash and use what I need on the day of. So let's get to it. I know I want to use my mega date stamp from Studio Calico. I used this last year. If you haven't seen my Week in the Life journal from last year, I do have a playlist. I will link it up at the eye for you. But I did use my mega date stamp, and I thought I would do that again this year. So I have that in my little container. Actually, let's move this aside. I have my journal, and I will share a little bit about the journal in a little bit. I also grabbed 2 stamp sets. Like I said earlier, I'm not going to be using a lot of stuff, or I don't know what I'm going to be using. That's what I'm trying to say. But I do know I want to stamp the date and the week. So I grabbed this stamp set from Kelly Perky. I love the big, bold days of the week. And I did use this last year, so I thought I would grab that again. And I love this number stamp from Studio Calico. It's a newer one, and I just love the font, so I'm going to use that one instead. Last year, I think I used a more chunkier number stamp, but this one's going to be fun, and it's going to be a nice way to change it up a little bit. I did do some printables. Now, these printables are from Little Lamm Co. Yes. And the printables, the kit is called 24/7. So it's about documenting your life, every single day. And I just thought it was perfect for what I'm doing. I printed them on sticker paper. I have like 2 sheets. I did trim some out. I had a few boo-boos while I was printing these out, so I did end up trimming some of them out. So all of these are on sticker paper. I printed some bigger sheets as well, hoping to like throw these in throughout my photos and stuff like that, because I will be collaging my photos. So it's really basic. It's very simple. I'm not, using anything outrageous or out of this world. And I didn't buy the kits from Ali Edwards. I only bought the journal. So I had to put together something that I could use throughout the week. So those are the basics that I'm going to be using. And let's talk about my journal. This year, I decided to put my journal on discs. The reason behind this is I wasn't a fan of the paper that came in the journal this year. I felt like it was a little bit too thin, and I want a stamp. So I decided that I'm going to make the process easier for myself, use some of my own paper. And because I had the digital of the journal from last year, I was able to print those out and add them instead of some of these papers in the journal. Also, I can pull out the papers from the journal and stamp. So if I wanted to stamp on this paper, I can just pull it out of my discs and put it back in. So I can stamp basically directly on my desk and not worry about stamping in the journal, because also last year it got really, really bulky. I can also add some fun acetates and vellum pieces. So I did that, and this is basically me preparing for Week in the Life. I had these like letters from an old Ali Edwards kit, and I still had the week letters and I wanted to use them. So I just used them on my little acetates. It's going to be a fun way to break down my journal and add some fun texture in there. And I did end up printing these sheets where I'm going to be stamping and journaling. So I ended up printing my own timeline, the gratitude as well. And I think I printed these as well. Yeah, I did. with loving, watching, and all that stuff. So I ended up printing these 3 sheets for every single day, but the rest of the journal, I kept it as is because I'm gonna like stamp on these where I'm gonna add my photos, but not as much as I will with these first through 3 pages. I just felt like that paper wasn't good enough for me. I knew it was going to bleed through my stamping because I did try, and as you can see, it wasn't the best. So I decided to do that. Now you don't have to do that. You don't have to print out your own, but you do have that option. If you didn't want to buy the journal, you can definitely buy the digitals and print them out yourself. Anyways, for Monday, what I am going to be doing this year, I did do some of it, some of these steps last year, but I'm adding a little bit more to make the process easier for myself. So each day I will take my photos. I will, go through the day and make sure that I have everything ready for the end of the day. By the end of the day, before I go to bed, I would come in here, add all my timeline, what happened, what was going on, makes the process easier. I also filled in my loving, so my ing stuff, and I got that done and ready. I also printed my photos. And when I was printing, because I'm doing collages, I was printing and adding them to my pages to make sure that everything fits nicely, and basically added some little clips to hold my photos in the right place. And I did it for every single day. And that way my photos are ready to go. And all I have to do is come in here the next day and fill this out. Now, even if I didn't want to work on this the next day, I can put this aside and work on it at the end of the week. But I do like to work on it throughout the week so I don't fall behind. And also, it just keeps me motivated. So today, I'm going to work on Monday with you guys. I'm going to set up Monday. I'm going to share with you my mind map. I'm going to share with you how I'm going to set up my photos and all that good stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's not a lot of planning. I'm just going to go with the flow. The only planning, obviously, that I did was fill out the journaling and add the photos, and then I'll just put everything together. So we're going to have fun with this. I'm really enjoying this process and this project. So let's get to it. I'm going to set this aside, pull out the page I'm working on, and put everything together with you. Okay, you guys, let's start working in my week in the life. I'm going to start with Monday, and I'm going to just add a little bit of color to my timeline. Like last year, I just used a marker to add color to my timeline. I'm sticking to the day of the week color. So if Monday's yellow, I'm using yellow. If Tuesday's blue, I'm going to use blue. So I just grabbed a yellow highlighter and I'm adding color to my timeline. We'll also be adding some washi tape right next to the day of the week. I thought it would be fun to add some washi tape and also just bring in a different color to my spread. Now, once I'm done with this, I'm just going to flip over my page and I'm going to do exactly like I did last year where I added the number, so the date, and the day. I'm using these beautiful number stamps from Studio Calico to add 24. And then I will use that Paper Person Shop Days of the Week stamp set to add Monday right underneath it. And I will grab that same yellow marker to add some color to my number. My motto for this year is if it's not broke, don't fix it. Last year worked really well for me, so I'm sticking to what I know and what worked for me last year. Basically, you're going to see me do almost the same exact thing that I did last year in my Week in the Life journal. I'm just going to repeat myself for 2023. Anyways, I'm just going to go ahead and color in my numbers, and then we can work on the gratitude and feelings page. Okay, now that I'm done, I'm just going to add it back into my journal or my disc bound journal. And then I'm going to grab that gratitude and feelings page and we're going to start stamping. So last year I used a little bit of stamping for my gratitude and feelings page, but this year I'm just gonna up it up a notch and add numbers as well. So I'm using this number stamp, I believe it's from Studio Calico, to add 1, 2, 3. That way I break down my gratitude, and I'm gonna use my stamps to add a little something to this page. I will also journal. I'm not going to journal on camera, but you will see all the journaling at the end of this video when I share the photos. Anyways, I'm going to start with my number 1, which is I'm grateful for Stitch. And I'm going to use a dog stamp to kind of represent Stitch. I will also stamp Women's Best Friend and leave some space for journaling. Also grateful for working from home. It's such an amazing feeling to just wake up, put on a pair of leggings and a t-shirt and not worry about how you look and put on makeup and all that stuff for work. Because I work from home, I just get to be comfortable and go straight to my desk and get my work done. So I'm very grateful for that. And also for good books. So I went ahead and stamped a little book stamp to represent reading a good book and how it brought me joy that day. Now for my feelings, I'm using the stamp set from the Paper Person shop. It's just a stamp set with all kinds of different feelings. Start with happy because I woke up happy in a good mood, and then stamped okay because usually midday I'm okay, kind of a little bit of tired. And by the end of the day, I'm very tired. So I stamp tired for the end of the day. I'm going to fill out that little space in between the letters. There's just like a little blank space that you can fill out with a different stamp. And once I do that, I'm going to grab my yellow marker and color things in. Just going to bring in the yellow, like tidbits of that yellow throughout my pages. Now, this year also, I'm just upping it up a notch, and I'm using the color, but adding something that matches nicely and is still in that color range. So like basically I color in everything in yellow, but the dog, I use like a tannish color, and it still fits in. It doesn't take away from the yellow, but it adds a little something to my page. Anyways, I'm done. I'm just gonna add that same washi that I added to my timeline. And then we can flip over this page and start with my next spread, which is going to hold my mind map. So for my mind map, I start with my mega date stamp to stamp out the date. I just think it's a fun way to add the date to my mind map. And also, I don't get to use my mega date stamp much, so I'm really happy that I can use it in my week in the life. Once I stamp out the date, I'm going to start stamping all the things. If you didn't watch my week in the life from last year, I created a mind map using my stamps to represent or highlight the things that happened throughout the day. I also did use stickers and die cuts, and I'll do that this year as well. I start with stamping a little building to represent Sabine being tardy that day. She got to school late. And then I stamped a little iPhone. I got to chat with a friend that day. I stamp some cleaning products and like a washer and dryer, a vacuum cleaner, things like that. I also worked that day, so I'm going to stamp something to represent work. And I spent some time outside. So for the outside, I'm not going to stamp. I'm actually going to use a sticker, which I like to add throughout my mind maps. It breaks it down a little bit, and I get to use my supplies. So I'm going to go through my washi tape stickers and use a little sticker for being outside and enjoying the outdoors. I'll also be stamping utensils and things like that because I did cook that day. I'll stamp little people to represent Laith and Sabine coming home and what time they got home. Ice cream cone because we did go out for ice cream. Also will stamp the Netflix icon because I did watch Netflix that night. So it's a really fun way to represent your day by using your supplies and your stamps. And I love creating mind maps. It's one of my favorite things to do, and I'm obsessed, you guys. So if you haven't tried something like this before, I definitely recommend it. It's a great way to use your product, and it's unique and different. Anyways, once I'm done stamping, I'm going to start adding a hint of color using my markers. And I believe I change up the shades of yellow just to add some depth to my mind map. So I basically go with a dark yellow, a mustardy yellow, and then a lighter shade of yellow to color in my mind map. But I forgot to mention that I will also be adding arrows from one stamp to the other. I do that for my mind maps, so I'm going to do that for my layout today. I'm basically just going to grab a black marker and add an arrow from one highlight to the other. I'm done with my mind map, I totally forget to add color to my ING page. I feel like because I journaled, I thought I was done with it, but what I usually do is I just use the same yellow marker to go over the ING words, and it's a great way to add color. And I do add washi as well. But while I was recording, I think I just forgot about it. And I move on to my photos, but I think at some point I do discover that I didn't color that in, and I do end up coloring in my ING layout. But for now, I'm gonna work on my photos. I said earlier, I do print out my photos at the end of the day to make the process easier. And I'm sticking to what I know best because it worked for me last year. I'm gonna do it this year, and I'm gonna collage my photos. I'm gonna add some stickers, some die cuts, and some stamping. And I shared with you all the stickers that I printed out from the 24/7 collection, and it's gonna work perfectly with my week in the life. Now, every day is going to start with a 5x7 photo, and I just add it right underneath what I want to remember. And I'm just using my stickers to add a little something to this 5x7 photo of us eating ice cream. And then I'm going to move on to the right side and add my photos. And I'm going to use the stickers and the die cuts that I printed out. I love this one. It just adds a little something in between my photos. When I was printing my photos, I made sure to leave space for embellishing or stamping. And if there's any empty spots, I'll either stamp or add a die cut or sticker. So you can see here right underneath me doing the dishes, I'm just gonna stamp currently. I also added a sticker that said morning. I will also grab my die cuts and go through those as well and see if I can find anything that I can use for my spread. Found this little ticket that said happy moments, and I thought it fit perfectly because it was yellow and I can use my die cuts. So I went ahead and stuck that down as well and basically called the spread done. I'm trying to keep things simple and easy for myself. And honestly, once you print out your photos, it's so easy to put together just because all you have to do is add the stamping and the stickers. Anyways, let's move on to our next two spreads. I'm going to be documenting a few more photos from the day. One of them is Sabine receiving some of her cords. She got her first two cords that day, so I wanted to document that. Having coffee outside, spending time with Sabine and a friend, doing homework outside as well. Have photos of me cleaning, just moments from the day. So anyways, I'm gonna start by adding a label right above the cord picture. Wanted to stamp something that has to do with graduating because she just received her first two cords. So I'm just gonna use this close to my heart stamp set to stamp "The future is bright." And I will add my 2x2 photos. I think they're 2x2s or 2.5x2.5. I'm not even sure anymore. I'm gonna add those square photos and add a little sticker right in between that says today's details. Again, keeping it simple, keeping everything moving is my go-to when it comes to week in the life. For the opposite page, again, I'm keeping it simple. And I'm gonna add another sticker right in between my square photos because I had a lot of space in between the square photos. And so I did that on purpose, again, because I knew I wanted to add some stamping and some stickers. So I made my photos a tiny bit smaller so I can add little things like that. I felt like those photos needed numbers for some reason. So you're gonna see once I stick down my photos, I'm gonna grab some white number stickers and add 1 through 5 on these photos just for the heck of it. This was not like a 1 through 5 kind of moment. Like this didn't happen right after each other, but I thought it would be fun to add the numbers and a great way, again, to use my stickers. But anyways, I'm just gonna add the numbers and then we can move on to our last 2 spreads for Monday. So because some of the photos covered the holes on my pages, I just grabbed my arc hole punch and I'm going to repunch that just so I can add them to my discs. And then we can move on to our next 2 pages. Again, I have a bunch of photos. I did pretty good for Monday and took a lot of photos. And so I was able to create like full collages, but you'll see through the week, some days I didn't have enough photos and I end up not using up all the pages for that day. I'm just going to go ahead and add my photos. And like I said earlier, I kind of have a feel of where all the photos are going to sit on my page. Wherever there's empty spots, I can use my stickers and stamping. I like how everything looks, so I'm going to go ahead and start sticking things down. Then I'm going to grab my stickers and start adding stickers in between the photos and directly on the photos, like this little currently banner. I'm just going to add that to my coffee. I will also grab one of my little today's news stickers and use that as well to add next to that screenshot of the newspaper. I did this for every single day, by the way, a screenshot of the weather and the news. And I think Wordle as well. I'm not even sure. Or maybe midweek, I remembered to take screenshots of my Wordle. So some days I wasn't able to add my Wordle screenshot. But anyways, I do use some sticker paper to stamp on as well, just to layer some of the photos. So I think at this point I'm stamping comfort food. I'm gonna add that to myself cooking, and I will use like my watched stamp from Everyday Explorers to stamp watched right underneath what I was watching, which also I did do for every single day. I used this little TV screen and I just used Canva for this and created a little TV screen with what I'm watching at the moment. And I do trim around it to kind of make it fit. And then I'll stamp watched right underneath it. Again, I ended up doing that for every single day. So every single day had the newspaper, the weather, and what I'm watching. I honestly really like how every page kind of looked the same because I was collaging and adding stickers and adding a little bit of stamping. And this is something I recommend to try to stick to a format if you can. Even changing up the sizes of your photos, it's not that difficult. They still kind of look the same, but you're changing it up slightly by changing it up the photo size, if that makes sense. I also recommend to make sure that you're repeating yourself with some of your photos, like the news, the weather, what you're watching, all that good stuff. That really helps keep everything consistent. And you're documenting at least one thing every single day. I'm almost done. I'm just going to add this daily routine chipboard to that photo of Stitch just because it fit perfectly. And basically, it is part of our daily routine where I play ball with Stitch every single day. Anyways, I am done with Monday. I am basically just going to add those pages back into my disc-bound journal, which I'm so happy that I decided to take my journal apart and put them on discs just because I was able to use acetate. I was able to use some traveler's notebook pages as well, which is pretty awesome. It's just a great way to change it up and make it more unique to yourself. The discs also helped with the bulk of the journal, so I'm not going to have to worry about my journal being bulky and big. So having the discs really, really helped. But anyways, you guys, I'm just doing a quick flip through. I hope to come back soon with some more pages in my week in the life. I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and if you did, please give me a thumbs up. And if you are new to my channel, please consider subscribing. And I hope to see you guys very soon. Bye.